And joining us now as we talk about more strong third quarter earnings for CHS. Pleased to have with us today Jay Debertin, President and CEO of CHS Inc. And Jay, always great to talk with you, sir. How are you?
I'm well, Jesse. Good to see you as well.
Thanks for joining me here today. And as I mentioned, strong third quarter earnings and just continuing what has been a fairly strong pattern for the company. Great to see. I know we can dive into this section by section, but just overall, could you give us kind of just the highlights and the baseline to frame up our discussion today?
Sure, Jesse. And I would say it's kind of a continuation of what you and I have been talking about over the course of the year, or a little bit more. I think what's driving really strong results for CHS is a world that just has strong global demand for the commodities that our owners and U.S. agriculture is producing. And our job is to create those connections for the people that own us with the buyers around the world. And it's working really well. And in addition, areas like our energy segment is just having the benefit of strong operating margins, and crushing of soybeans and canola continues to perform at a high level. And then our efforts at CHS being a better and better company, and we've been working hard at that over the last couple of years to operate better, and those benefits are showing up in our income statement.
You mentioned a few things there that I want to talk a little more about, and let's just start on the energy side. That could help us segue into the soybean crush and more. But energy, especially that refined fuels business, I know that's a big key with CHSJ.
Yeah, it is. And most of our energy products are targeted towards agriculture. We fuel agriculture across a large swath of the country, and it's just been really high demands for us that we've been able to serve, and the margins that have come in with that are strong. And the benefit of all of that, of course, as being a cooperative, is those earnings that we make off that go to the people that buy from us. So it becomes a circle of benefit for the people that own us, is while they buy from us and they get the benefit of those earnings. But to your point, energy was a strong performer. It's an important part of our company. At the same time, we acknowledge and we work with a changing energy platform going forward, knowing that the country's the United States is shifting to more renewable sources and other forms for energy that are going to be part of the future. So we have our eyes wide open to that too.
You set me up for my next question, Jay, perfectly. I was going to ask a little bit more about improved soybean and canola crush margins, and thinking about some of that oilseed demand, renewable diesel. We know that we're really starting to work towards more of that renewable diesel processing here across the country. And I just know that that's an area that's going to be a very key focus, I think, for the next few years to come, for sure.
I think you're absolutely right, Jesse. And for farmers, I think this is one of the reasons why I think it's an exciting time for agriculture, because for a farmer, this is likely going to drive more processing across the country, and processing, or more processing, means more options for farmers. And I've been working with farmers for nearly 40 years now, and I know they like options, and I think that window is going to increase. Now, I have to also say in the same breath that business is driven by tax breaks in certain states that have been driving towards renewable diesel, and the soybean oil goes to supply that need. So we're also cognizant of how states are looking at that tax policy, what additional states might implement that tax policy, because that's a big part of the driver for this.
Now, I need to ask on the other side of this, we did see a bit of a decrease on the nitrogen production side, but I think we have to look at that through maybe a rose-colored lens a little bit, Jay, because obviously this time last year we had very high fertilizer prices.
You're absolutely right. I mean, fertilizer, as your listeners know, have done a bit of a reset off some really lofty numbers. And we're quick to point that out. When prices are high in the commodities that CHS deals with, and the products that CHS deals with, we know that these cycles turn. And what we don't know is exactly how long it'll take until they turn, but we know that they turn. and we have our eyes wide open about that, and that's why we work hard to to not get ahead of ourselves when it comes to some of these commodities and the prices that are driving them, knowing that the market will reset. It always does. It's just when and how much is the question. And we've seen that in fertilizer, just as you point out. Now, I think to the benefit for people is prices have reset at quite a bit of a lower level. I'm not in the business to know exactly what prices will be, 8 months from now. But we know where we are, and so our financial results in that area reflect that, and that's the kind of company we are.
Jay, let's look big picture, fourth quarter ahead of us. What is on your mind? What should the cooperative members of CHS keep in the back of their mind as well here as we work through the fourth quarter of 2023?
Sure. Well, I think we're sitting here with a crop that's developing a little bit unevenly across the country, mostly driven by rain and moisture conditions. So we're, as you and I were speaking about just a little bit ago, we're coming into some really critical times around pollination and August for bean production and so forth. So some really, really important time coming in front of us for how that crop matures. I think global conditions are something to watch a lot. We both heard the reports out of the Black Sea and whether or not the Ukrainian grain export program will continue through past July. Russia is saying what they're saying. We'll see what happens there, but I think that's a question. But I would sum it all up, though, Jesse, by saying I still remain very, very optimistic, and I think agriculture is in a really nice window. And I think there'll be a lot of good opportunities that give us optimism in agriculture, not because it'll be easy. That's not the kind of business we're in, and that's not what agriculture is about. But because I think there's just going to be good opportunities around the world, driven by strong demands, driven by the U.S. farmers' ability to compete very well around the world, and some of these other opportunities, like you spoke about, around renewable diesel and then global conditions that I think could just provide for some very interesting opportunities.
Always appreciate the conversation. As always, thank you for joining us. Jay Debertin, President and CEO of CHS. We look forward to talking to you again real soon. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jesse.